You roll with me and I'll roll with you. Got this success. You roll with me and I'll roll with you. You got it.
Let's talk about now. Come on, let's talk about it. Now, come on, let's talk about it. We on a sister ship.
Oh,
We on a sister ship. Hey, y'all.
Hey.
It is Sister Ship Sunday, y'all.
Hello.
Sister Ship Sunday.
Hello.
Hello, everyone out there. We are close to the end of the year.
Wow.
Woo, this has been an interesting 2022. I'm sure we all have had so many things going on post this COVID and just getting back to normal environments and people and friends and work and relationships, et cetera, and so on. I want to say welcome everybody to the Sister Ship Sunday. This is our Sister Ship holiday special. We'll talk about the topic that we're going to get into today. However, I want to first and foremost introduce the founder of the Sister Ship Network, Miss Deborah Kofer, Mama
okay.
C. Mama C. She's looking like okay, she can.
Did she forget my name?
She did. It's an
was I supposed to say something?
I had to look at her because there is just no way to introduce this woman other than Mama C and everything she does for the Sister Ship Network. And for those out there, she shares her wisdom, her love, and energy every single day on the Sister Ship Network Facebook page. So please make sure you join the Sister Ship Network Facebook page. But hello, Mama C.
Hey there. Hey everybody. You know, it's been a rough year, you know, and I don't even know what to say about this year other than I'm grateful. You know, no matter what, I'm grateful. And I think that's what helps me to get through is that I've learned to be grateful. I don't focus on the things I don't have or what I want and don't have, but rather what I do have and just appreciate just everything to the best of my ability because you know what? That's what brings happiness, you know. The more you kind of sink into the abyss of what you don't have or focusing on what you want, that tends to be kind of depressing. So I don't go there. You know, I've kind of learned what happiness is and what it isn't.
Right. That's right. That is so true. And that's actually going to segue us into the topic today. However, we have an amazing guest, a friend of the Sister Ship Network, Miss Onika Washington, and you know she's got a little bit of an AKA. So, Onika, how are you today? Nice. Lady not nice, but she's nice. She nice.
But she's not nice when she needs to be. You know, sometimes you have to let people know that you are not the one. You know, they'll try you, but if you don't let them know that you're not the one, then they'll keep pushing you until you
walking all over you.
You know. So you know, I have what I call the F face. I'm not gonna say the word. I don't think I can say the word.
Y'all already know. You can spell it out.
Hello, read between the lines. You know, when I have to put on my F face, I put on my F face because you know what? I can read people's energy and aura, and so I know when I got somebody coming at me that is not conducive to my well-being, and I'm not having it.
We'll talk about the unhealed with that said. But with that said, Onika, how are you? I'm so glad to have you.
Okay, I need some rum. I need some rum in this water.
Lord have mercy. We done started it out the holiday season. We ain't even got no alcohol sitting here. We got some alkaline water because, you know, we need to replenish our alkaline levels.
Girl, you just don't even know.
But Onika, with that said, welcome to the Sister Ship Network, and so glad to have you on. How are you?
I'm good. You know, blessed.
That
Yeah,
last
right.
keyword.
Yeah.
And let's talk about that. So today's topic, and I would love the audience. I know y'all quiet sometimes. You out there, you're listening, you hear us. You guys have the ability to call in at any point in time during the show while we're live, 888-304-4401. We want to hear from you.
Absolutely.
What brings you joy? 'Tis the season. Joy comes from within. That's our topic today.
Absolutely.
It's a holiday special. Everybody does. Oh, it's Christmas. Oh, it's the Hanukkah. Oh, it's, Kwanzaa. Oh, it's, all the different holidays, which we respect as the sistership, because within our nucleus,
Right.
we do have people who celebrate different parts of the season and different religious backgrounds.
Right.
And we respect that. And that's why we want to make sure that we say happy holidays, to make sure we're covering.
We get everybody
We
in.
get everybody in, because
Absolutely,
we respect
yes.
everybody's diversity and unification,
Absolutely.
as it relates to diversity. But with that said, we wanted to focus strictly on joy, because that covers everybody, right? Doesn't matter your religion, doesn't matter your background, doesn't matter anything. Joy comes from within. And we need to talk about what joy really means and how do we become joyful. And I say this, sustained joy, not temporary joy. Because there is a huge difference between
There's a very, you get joy for a moment because somebody just gave you something. You get joy for the moment because maybe you just got a check in the mail and you really could have used that.
Hello.
Money. That's temporary.
That's temporary joy.
That's temporary joy. You want to be joyful even when you don't have the things that you need. You know what I'm saying? And I put together some notes, and what I have here says, what produces true happiness? Well,
So
true
let's ask
happiness
that
comes from joy. Okay.
Okay.
But if you are lacking joy, if your joy well is empty or teetering on empty within the cockles of your soul, then you're not going to experience happiness because it's an internal process.
And that's absolutely true. That's what we're talking about. Sustained joy versus temporary joy.
Absolutely.
Onika, what brings you joy? What do you consider joy? When you think about yourself and everything that your environment and everyone around you, what brings you true sustained joy? She's like, oh Lord, do I need to really tell you that?
Could I have gotten these questions ahead of time?
Well, it's got to come from the heart, right? So we're going to be open and honest here. So what brings you joy?
I like to be by myself. My definition of joy, which most people really don't understand, joy, if you could be by yourself and enjoy your own company, then I don't know, I enjoy my own company.
You know what?
I sit and have conversations, laugh,
Absolutely.
Enjoying your
own company. I enjoy my
company.
own company. That's what brings me joy. And anybody who's in my circle or who's around me, add to that joy.
Absolutely.
By just sharing.
And
so
one of the things you got to do is get rid of people who are in your circle who are not joy producing, who don't fill your tank with joy. There are a lot of people around you for a whole lot of different reasons, and those reasons may not be because they really care about you. They subtract from you rather than add to you. And I always say to people, if you come into my life to add to my happiness, then fine, I embrace you. If you come into my life with a whole lot of chaos and drama and negativity and BS and all that, I'm sorry. I have to step back. You can't be a part of my world. And if you have unhealed elements of yourself that causes you to throw daggers at people because you're not getting what you want, or people didn't respond the way you wanted them to respond, you got an issue, and you'll never be able to have experience sustained joy, because you're looking for something outside of yourself, whether it comes from a person or whether it comes from a place or a thing. You can't have sustained joy by depending on something externally. And what Onika was saying, one of the things I wrote down is true joy is experienced by enjoying your own company
Mm.
and living in peace and harmony with your body, mind, and soul. To be genuinely joyful, you don't need other people or material things. Happiness is the consequence of personal effort and living a life that is purposeful and in sync with who you are.
So that's a
a
lot.
mouthful.
That's a mouthful. That's a mouthful. So I think about, full, right? Again, you have to be fulfilled with who you are as an individual. So it goes back to kind of what Onika was saying and what you were saying, Mama C. You have to be fulfilled within. So we're talking
Absolutely.
within yourself, right?
Within yourself.
You have to be happy with yourself. Now, I want to say this because we just had news of Twitch passing and the committing of suicide. I won't get into details because I really feel there's a little something there that nobody knows about. However, pain, and people who are unhealed, they might show an outer level of joy, but they might be dealing with some issues internally. And that goes back to not having truly that sustained joy, making sure you're healing yourself. And again, that outward appearance doesn't always mean that person is not dealing with something that's going on within themselves.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So, I want to make it clear that we may see people smiling, laughing, joking, having a good time. Robin Williams was a comedian. He brought so much joy to people in the way, the laughter, and again, temporary, right? The laughter and all that. However, he was dealing with some demons. So, when we talk about joy within and sustained joy, that is the healed part of who you are regardless of all the traumas that you might have dealt with in life. And you have to really get to a place of healing, whether it be through some type of therapy, talking to people, et cetera, and so on. And I want to just say this, if there's anyone, because since I brought up this whole, suicide element, 988 suicide hotline. If you know anybody, or if you are someone who is contemplating, take a breather for one moment and call that number, 988. I know the holidays add so much stress and pressure. So please make sure, 988. I had to do that because I want to make sure people understand that there's always someone there for you.
Absolutely.
To speak to you and get you through whatever that temporary unhappiness may be, to be able to get you also now on the playing field of moving forward and getting healed and getting the counseling you need.
Absolutely.
So with that said, I didn't want to bring everybody down, but there are people out there that are struggling, and I want to make sure that we're focusing on the whole root element of joy and some of the challenges that people are going through, to get them to that place of being okay
right.
with themselves.
Oh, absolutely.
That is so true.
And Onika, you wanted to say
but
something.
also what I was going to add to that is, like, you ever notice that sometimes you meet a joyful person and they have all these unjoyful people around and start draining them?
Oh,
So
yeah.
the joyful person now will start taking on everybody's problems, and that becomes their problems. So, like, what's the remedy to dismiss the negative vibes from around? But most joyful people always want to spread love, always want to spread positivity.
Absolutely.
But then when they get back to negative, they don't know to dismiss it. So, as being joyful, you also know to dismiss certain things that's coming to you.
Oh, absolutely. You got to protect your joy.
Yeah.
You got to protect, like I told you, protect your heart, protect your mind, protect your joy. Okay, because there are a lot of people out there who are vampires. They will sip and sup on your joy until you are so deep in the bowels of sadness and pain, and not understand that it really came from somebody else. It's not even your pain and misery and suffering. It's somebody else's. So when you get around people like that, you have to identify them, not feel sorry for them, not join in on their pity party or whatever it is they're doing, and trying to get you to join in with them. You've got to identify what it is and who it is in your presence so that you know how to deal with that person. I walk away from people who are joy stealers, joy robbers, haters, and but let me one of the things I want to say, you can't ever expect joy and love from a person who is not joyful and who does not love themselves. Okay, you don't know what love is until you know how to love yourself, how to identify unloving people, unjoyful people, and recognize. Don't make excuses for them. Oh, I feel so sorry. Oh, they had this problem. Yeah, well, we all have problems. We all have challenges, but we choose not to dump our pain and misery on other people. So you got to be very clear about who's around you and what the deal is, because if not, you're going to end up being drained and feeling sad and just it'll take over your whole life.
So let me ask, because there are people, who, again, you want to help others, right? So I think I agree. Some people just don't know the limits of what they're ingesting from other individuals in their lives, right? And we think about this even with counselors and things of that. They're ingesting a lot of the problems of, what their profession is, right?
Right.
The question is then, how do you come out of that and really put that separation of me fulfilling me versus taking on and ingesting everything and knowing how to push back and say, okay, this is where my job stops, right? Because a lot of times we are trying to help others to heal and to get through their challenges. But I think there's at least at some point within that relationship, there has to be a level where we finally say, you know what, you're not taking responsibility for your piece of that, right? And I can no longer continue to provide that element of
absolutely
insight, wisdom, or what have you to help heal you. You have to get the help you need.
You got to know when to move on. That's the bottom line. You got to know when to move on. I don't care how much you want to help somebody. If they're not helping themselves, then they will sip and suck and use and abuse you until you recognize what's going on and pull yourself out of that rabbit hole that you may have gotten down in trying to help somebody else. If people won't help themselves, you can't help them. The best thing you do is get the heck out of their way and allow them to be who they choose to be, because you can't, again, and I can't say this enough, you can't help people who won't help themselves. That's the reality, whether we like it or not, whether it's a family member, whether it's friends, associates, work over. If they're not helping themselves, then there's nothing we can do. And if we find ourselves being negatively impacted by other people's unjoyful life, then we've got to make the hard decision to walk away from those people.
And I want to clarify that, because I agree with you. To a certain degree, you have to kind of walk away from those situations. So I want to be clear. There are those temporary elements or temporary situations where someone's unhappy or they're dealing with some type of challenge in their relationship or their job or family or what have you. That doesn't mean you walk away from those situations. If they're temporary and they, happen here and there, it's what it is. But those people, we're talking about individuals who truly are in pain to the point where they don't know how to get the help they need to come out of the situation. That is sustained pain, sustained trauma that they're not healing from. Right?
Absolutely. You gotta heal.
Right.
But a lot of time people is scared to share, because you might go tell someone what you're going through, and you and that person get in some type of argument or whatever, and they want to throw it back in your face, so the whole world know what you're going through. So a lot of time people don't know where to start from, who to talk to, who to trust. If I go see any type of professional help, people might think I'm crazy. So it have a lot. So it all
stigmatism.
It all depends on you and how bad you want it, how bad you want happiness. But most people do not know where to start from.
Yeah.
Because
true.
to take on so many people problems and to see so many things,
Mhm.
to scared if to make that foot out that door, I might do that same thing John did. Or my life might go like Susie and start comparing their life to other people's life or other people's situation. And here goes
Comparing, that word drives me crazy.
Yes.
Comparisons.
Comparing and
Yes.
perception. I mean, you can't care about what other people
Right.
perceive about your life. It's your life. You've got to be willing to stand up for your life and later for what somebody else thinks. And that thing of comparing and competing and all of that, that is just craziness. That's a crazy mind going wild.
You know, a comparison, there's this element of identifying with other individuals who are going through some things that you could be going through or have gone through, and that we could so just be clear on this. We are all individuals in this world.
And
we
unique.
were developed to be unique
Mhm.
and to be who we are and who we are meant to be. When we start doing comparisons, we are doing a disservice to ourselves and
Absolutely.
others.
Absolutely.
And that's where I think we sometimes miss when we start comparing ourselves to another individual, because there are elements you both may be going through or others are going through. Believe me, there's so many millions of people in this world. And guess what? The majority are going through exactly what you may have been going through or are going through.
Absolutely.
Experiences may be the same, but you have to just identify and not compare. That's the big difference, right? So, and again, I think back to what you were saying as far as the people, the vampires and this and that. You know, again, we have to figure out how, and we're afraid to talk to people, right? Because
That's
we're afraid
true.
within our circle, relationships end. You know, you might have somebody who might use that, you know, you think they're using that against you, et cetera. And so on. We know that there's that whole trust element, right?
Yeah.
And there are people who are not nice out there that would do that,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And that's where I think, to your point, when you said some people just don't know where to start, it's that trust element. Who do you trust? And the whole thing with counseling, and Mama, so you said it, we need to stop caring about what other people think that is going to help us to be the better versions of ourselves. If we're doing it for ourselves, it should not matter who in our circle is even concerned about that, or if they do speak on that, they are not even people who you should have in your circle.
Absolutely.
Because if you know you're going to get healed and there's elements that you need to do to heal yourself, and they're judging you because of that, then they are not your people. I posted some
Absolutely.
about this the other day. People are envious that you're happy when you show happiness. And people are criticizing all the time when somebody is hurt or in trauma or in pain. Those are not your circle of people.
And people who throw subliminal
Messages.
daggers on
Oh.
Facebook and other social media forums. These are people you want to stay away from, okay? They have not healed from whatever pain they're carrying around or whatever demons are stalking them.
Mm.
And so what they do is they think people are stupid. And so they throw these subliminal daggers out there, hoping to hurt the people who they think have hurt them. But many times you're hurting yourself. You know, we can care about you, but we're going to care about ourselves a lot more when we are in that position where we understand that our joy and happiness is a byproduct of our internal self, not our external self, you know. And I watch it happen all the time, and I'm like, poor thing, you know. So when people do that on Facebook, I don't delete them. I just unfollow them. I don't want to see the nonsense every day. You know, I know what's going on with you. And if you're not willing to face what's going on with you, then that's not my problem. And it's not my concern. And I just want to continue I tell people, I live my life peacefully and happily. And it doesn't even matter what's going on in my external world. I go inward and allow that peace, that joy to resonate. So the happiness just flows. just flows, and it doesn't come because I got a new car or I got a successful business or I have I've just won the lottery or no. If you have not done the spiritual
I'll
work,
be happy if I win the lottery. Just saying.
well, that would
That's temporary though. That's temporary.
that winning the lottery would solve my
A whole
financial
lot of
issues.
financial issues.
But it's not the
Right.
byproduct
Right.
that makes me happy, you know.
Mhm.
Yeah, and that's where I joke. I semi-joke.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, I think again, you know, we laugh because, you know, we know what's going on in our lives, and you know, those we care and love about, you know, love on. And you know, Nika, you know, my question to you is, you mentioned about loving self and being okay with self. When you run into those situations of individuals where you feel are threatening that peace in you and confidence in what you have in yourself, how do you manage through that?
My cutoff game is lethal.
That's why not nice. That's the not nice moment. Cut him off.
Cut him
off.
I
But
don't, I don't have time to explain anything to anyone. You know what you're doing. You know how you're
Absolutely.
treating.
Absolutely.
You know, most people do. You sit back and think, you know, if I do that, and this person do it back to me, but I like it. Most of them really don't care. So instead of me, I just cut them off. I don't got time to
Absolutely.
explain myself. I really don't
Absolutely.
care. And basically, you know, I mentally kind of bury you in my head that I never know you, I never met. But that's how I move on.
it's treat others the way you want to be
Yes.
treated, I guess. And I agree. I think that the cutoff game, and there's a lot of people that do that. The cutoff game is lethal. But I think it's, and I don't want to say lethal. I think it's healthy.
Oh, it
There's
is.
it's that healthy element. Lethal meaning that I can immediately cut off the relationship, no explanation, what have you. However, you know, you move on, right? Because
Yeah.
that's a
Yeah,
healing
move on.
element of healing, to move on.
Absolutely.
And everybody has a season, and you know, we talk about this all the time. There's a season,
Everything.
you know, for everything and everybody, right? Seasons change for a reason, good or bad. However, again, it goes back to protecting your peace. You know, as the Sistership Network, we're very focused on mental, emotional, and spiritual health. And we've got a caller in, so this will be an interesting one. Hold on one second. This is the Sistership. Who do we have?
This is Darren. How are you?
Darren Johnson from the Brothership.
Hello.
Hey, Darren. Happy Sistership Sunday.
Hey there. How are you guys?
Good,
We're
good,
good. We're good. We're happy and joyful.
Yes. What you got for us?
Well, no, I mean, I think you guys have brought up a great topic, and I just wanted to share a personal perspective because, you know, the way I found joy is just through years of maturity. Now, I'll just share something with you. When I was younger, you know, I was wrapped up in just acquiring material things, and pretty much I did that. You know, I worked 3 jobs. I've always had a gig. I was trying to, you know, lay a foundation for myself. But what I found out halfway through the journey was that while I was getting the things that I was checking boxes on, I wasn't fully happy. And that's a cautionary tale. So I tell people, you know, when we look at joy from within, there's sliding scales of it. Because if you don't have, you try to, or sometimes you're hardwired to, you know, tie that happiness to what you don't have. But then on the other end of the spectrum, you can have what you always dreamed of, but still not be happy. So
Absolutely.
That is so true.
And you can have everything.
The part around comparing. Comparison is a human trait that we can't control per se. You know what I'm saying? If you go to someone that has a palatial home, you may say, you know what, that's something I want. So you comparison is just the human element that we have in our trait. Where we go wrong sometimes is when we begin to look at comparisons, and that shows in how we act. Because by definition, we should want to help each other.
Right.
Now, I've never seen something that someone has of abundance and say, hey, how can I get there? Sometimes people will encounter people with abundance and then tear them down or make judgmental commentary about how they got it. That's not what it should be about. So
Absolutely.
my point is, joy has to come from within by, first of all, being honest with oneself. I found in my personal journey, when I've looked at just being honest with myself, I've been more inclined to place accountability on the things that made me either be deficient or find out the things that I lack and then make the course correction. And we talk a lot about suicide and all of that stuff. Now, I'm too selfish to want to take my own life, but I've been to the point where when I was not happy, I was believing that unhappiness was where I would stay. Now, that's not a good place to be, but what I found out was, again, I had to get off the pity pot. So there's different elements to it, and I would just suggest to the listeners, you know, if you find yourself in a space where you're not happy, first of all, you got to find out why.
Exactly.
And you got to be honest with yourself. And then you can't blame people, because when I went through that personal inventory of why I wasn't happy at the time, first of all, I found out it was something I couldn't change. Now, if you can change it, you have to have the courage to change it. And if you can't because it's something that happened in the past, you have an option of therapy, or you have an option of trying to, I won't say shut it out, but then, you know, do that analysis on whether or not you could have changed it, or come to the conclusion whether or not you can deal with it. I have a very good friend that some things happened years ago, and it blew my mind, and guess what? They can't change it, but I know that today it's still negatively impacting how they're viewing and interacting in the world. And the best thing that I could tell them through experience was, hey, in order for you to get past this, you got to get the therapeutic help from professionals that can pull you out of it.
Right.
So I said a lot, but at the end of the day, joy comes from within. You have to extract yourselves from people, friends, family, loved ones, acquaintances, business partners that have negativity, and you're going to take the L, especially if you got something, because people are going to think you changed the script, and maybe you have, and that's okay. That's all I wanted to share.
Thank you, Mr.
Thank you,
Darren
Darren.
Johnson on the brothership. Thank you for that.
Yeah.
Inventory, self-inventory.
Wow.
I like that.
A lot of
because
people don't do that.
they don't do their inventory. So, you know, and I'll be honest, I have an opportunity and have had the opportunity to kind of self-assess myself, even how I interact with individuals, or when I get into a position where I might be negative or what have you, and I sit and listen to myself, and then later on I'm like, damn, what made me kind of go there? You know, like there's something going on
Right.
that I felt the need to do or say what I did.
Right.
And, you know, I don't put it out in the open that I do that. I just do it either at night when I'm laying in bed and I'm thinking, or while I'm sitting watching television, I've got stuff going on in my mind.
Right.
But, you know, a self inventory is so key, because you're, you know, to his point, if you don't do the inventory on yourself, you're never going to know what those issues are, why you're in a depressive state or an angry state or what have you.
Absolutely. And I do self-assessment every day during my prayer time. Because see, prayer is the time I talk to God, and meditation is the time I still myself and allow God to talk back to me. And that interaction, that understanding that God works in us, with us, for us, and through us is important to the process of identifying what's going on with us. You know, we've got to check in. You got to check in with the God power within you. You got to do that self-analysis, and you got to be brutally honest. And then you can't get an attitude when someone tries to say something to you that's going to help you. And if you don't want help, guess what? Someone who's joyful is going to leave you to your own misery.
And I will say, you said that, like if somebody gives you some type of, you know, insights into what they see in you, and you're trying to help them, and they're kind of like, you know, have this attitude like, you don't know me, you don't whatever, you know, blah blah blah. I think that person, the best thing you could do is take that back, listen, and internalize it, and understand, is that an opportunity for you or not? Because I think sometimes the people that are around you know you sometimes better than you think you know yourself.
And you got to understand, if you're dealing with a narcissist and you're trying to get them to see what's going on with them that's negative, they will gaslight the F out of you. Okay? And let me tell you, that gaslighting thing will make you feel like something's wrong with you.
Yeah.
You got to recognize who you're dealing with. Am I dealing with a narcissist here? And let me tell you, you can tell by how they respond back to you when you're trying to tell them something for their own good. So, you know what? If you're dealing with a narcissist and they start gaslighting you, get the heck out of the way, because it's never about them. It's all about you. You're the wrong person. You're the person who's got the problem. That they don't have a problem. They don't ever want to see themselves as having a problem or being the problem. And so you got to recognize when you're dealing with a narcissist, because that's a whole different ball game. They will steal your joy faster than you can blink your eyes.
Yeah, that is so true.
Onika,
That is so true.
Thoughts
Lord
on
have
that?
Mercy.
thoughts on that, Onika? Come on, girl.
My whole thing is you just gotta know yourself.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
You have to know yourself. A lot of people don't know to be happy. They don't know the first step of happiness. They think happiness is materialistic things, and that's many people. And then it's bad enough that everyone's on social media, so you're seeing certain things what other people is doing and thinking, oh, they're so happy. Maybe I need to be like them. It's just self-awareness.
Self-awareness, yeah, you know, and
That's it. You really have to, as you said, just be self-aware of the things that you're doing and what makes you happy, what don't make you happy. Eliminate the things that don't make you happy.
And stop comparing yourself to
Stop
what everybody else
yourself.
is promoting that they have, or that they are trying to convince everybody that they have. I have all this, I'm all that in a bag of chips, and you know, I'm superior to this person, and I'm superior. Those are joy stealing mentalities and behaviors that will not help to refill and keep your internal joy well filled, so that you can bypass all of the external craziness that you're going to encounter.
so we have to be careful when we kind of get into that element, right? Because back to what Darren said is like, yeah, these materialistic things, or seeing somebody who has something, I would like to achieve that, I would like to get there, et cetera, and so on. It's all in how that's used, right?
Absolutely.
It can be used to down someone else who doesn't have it,
Absolutely.
but it also can be used to uplift others on what they could potentially obtain. Or again, but that's not the within, that's the external piece of it, right?
Don't get it confused.
Don't get it confused. And the other piece is when people do share their joy, again, it's based on how it's shared, right? I always tell people it's not the what, and my husband says this too, it's not the what, it's the how.
It's the how.
How are we sharing our joy? Are we doing it to make people feel some kind of way about them not having it? Or are we sharing it to uplift people and encourage people and inspire people to work on themselves, and they can obtain anything? And I'll tell you, if you are not happy within, sickness comes with that, because when you're not happy within, comes depression, comes stress, comes all these elements that's going to continue to tear every piece of what is inside you
down
to the point where you're going to be so miserable that you're going to end up being sick.
Absolutely.
And we think about sicknesses that we see in some people, as especially depression. It comes from things that we're dealing with, traumas that we're dealing with that we have yet to fix, and that is going to make us sick.
And I as someone who's dealt with depression, and I mean the deepest depths of depression, I know for a fact, I'm talking about what I know, that depression can be overcome, but you've got to want to move beyond, to grow beyond it, to grow out of its reach. You know, it doesn't mean every now and then I may have a moment, but I wouldn't say it's depression. It may not be as much joy as I'd like to experience on any given day, but depression can be effectively dealt with. But if you allow your depression to get so bad and so for so long, you're only opening yourself up for other mental health conditions that you may never be able to recover from. So when I understood that, I'm like, I hurried up and started working on my joy. Because see, I remember my mother sitting in the corner, smoking cigarettes, drinking tea, and talking to the voices. She had really no contact with the outside world, really. She had just lost all sense of that caliber of connection and the joy she could get from it. She just locked herself away in her own little world, and that's the way she lived. And then she, I believe, at some point, that's when she became paranoid schizophrenic. Because if you allow depression to continue and continue and continue, and you can't find your joy because you've not done anything, you don't recognize what's going on with you, and
You become stuck.
And you become stuck, and then you won't listen to anybody who is trying to help, who loves you and trying to help you. So I mean,
That's so true.
It's a sad situation. But I watched my mother, so I had an example of what it all looks like, and I decided, oh, I'm not going out that way.
Yeah.
Okay, yes, I did have some horrifically depressed moments, but once I realized that I was depressed, I went and got myself some help. And it turned out that there was not, what was mostly wrong was I had a chemical imbalance. Because if you go through years of stressful situations, it's going to ultimately impact on your mental health. And I didn't realize that. I had gone through years from my childhood. I had gone through stressful times that were really just children should not have to go through. And then working and then being a single mother and trying to do the best I can. I had gone through years and then being in one bad relationship after another. The stress levels had become out of control, and it began to negatively affect my mind. But
you came through that.
I came through it because I chose to.
You chose to, and that
what was
right
your
there.
steps that you took?
Yeah.
So just in case people is listening and they don't know the steps.
I went to my primary care physician, and she referred me to a psychiatrist who she thought was a good pairing for me. I went to the psychiatrist. Every time I went to my primary care physician, I was crying so bad that I couldn't stop. And she knew that I was on the verge of a total breakdown. So, when she said, I'm going to send you, and I forget the doctor's name now, and I agreed because I wanted help. I didn't like the way I was feeling. I wanted help. I wanted to be happy. I wanted joy to be a consistent part of my life. So I had to acknowledge, and then I had to be accountable, and then I had to take responsibility. I had to do my part too, because stuff doesn't happen magically. Joy doesn't come magically. You got to work at it.
There's
okay?
accountability there.
There's accountability.
That's the key, right? That's
Yeah.
the key. That's
Yeah.
accountability. Is you have to want it.
You have to want it.
You can't give up on yourself. Joy is obtainable, but you have to be willing to work at it. If you're not working at it, you're going to continue in that same space.
Absolutely.
So you have to take your inventory. You have to get the right help that's needed. And to your point, that was a good step. Going to your doctor, and they noticed, and actually now doctor offices, mine does, they have a questionnaire. Are you feeling unhappy? Are you feeling depressed? Are you stressed out?
Are you
Like those
yeah.
questionnaires are so important, because that's also alluding to giving that primary care physician the ability to kind of understand, like, okay, this person's going through something. Maybe we need to give them some advice on who to go see to talk through some of the issues. I don't know if all primary care physicians do that, but I know my office does.
Yeah, mine does too. And you got to understand that, if you're not happy, you're going to make a whole lot of bad choices. And some of those choices could be marrying or committing to someone you shouldn't have, adding a child to an unhappy marriage, taking a job you don't like to get a big paycheck, sleeping around to fill the void in your life, turning to alcohol and drugs, cheating on your significant other, or spending money you don't have. There are a lot of things people do to try and
Fill
be
the
happy.
gaps.
To
Fill
cover
the
it up.
gaps.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And none of these things will ever bring you joy. They won't fill that void because they're not designed to.
And it's funny because when Darren said that when he was younger, he was filling himself up with all these elements to get him to where he wanted to be. However, we're also using that to compensate for the things that we don't feel good about within ourselves.
Right.
So we overcompensate with the tangible. We overcompensate with individuals who, are either the opposite of us. We overcompensate with having other people try to give us what we're missing.
Absolutely.
And to your point, that is not something that can be sustained. People come and go. Relationships come and go.
Absolutely.
Families come and go. Life has a start and an ending, right? So at some point you have to be accountable for yourself. You have to invest in yourself.
Totally accountable for yourself.
Yes.
The more you piggyback on somebody else, try to piggyback on somebody else's joy, somebody else's resources, somebody else's something, the less happy you're going to be. Because you recognize that if that person dies or if that person walks away, you're screwed. You're screwed. You have nothing. So you're always living in a state of fear. You're living in a state of fear to some degree. And so unless you're willing to take 100% responsibility for your life and be accountable for the choices you make, you never, ever are going to experience sustainable joy. It'll be momentary joy here and there, or momentary happiness.
Yeah.
Because the process is joy.
And we think, so, as we kind of coming into this season here of, the holidays, and we think about children, right? Because children are really the biggest element of like the spirit and, kind of getting into the spirit and things of that nature.
Right.
And I think we have to be very cognizant of kind of the things. Children are very in tune to what people are feeling. They're very intuitive.
Absolutely.
It's almost like an empath, right?
Yeah.
Like they really are in tune with their families, how they're feeling. And it kind of also gives them a reaction to what you're feeling as well.
And that's interesting because I have several granddaughters who are empathic like me. And so they can sense when something is wrong with me, and they will come, Grandma, and even if I'm trying to blow it off, they're like, no, there's something wrong. There's something wrong, and they can sense. And I support who they are. They're empaths. So I have to understand they can sense. They have a greater intuitive sense than the average person. And they also know that I can do the same. But I know when something's wrong with them. And so the bottom line here is we've got to decide just how much responsibility we're going to take when it comes to our children. And, our children in the home, they are picking up all kinds of vibes from other family members. Some vibes they don't understand, some they do, some they'll question. And if you're unable or unwilling to help them understand, then they're at some point they're going to think that it just needs to be something that's brushed aside. Whatever you're feeling, whatever you need to get out. Let me tell you, I always, sometimes I do what I call living out loud on Facebook. I talk about myself. I share because you know what? I want other people to know that you're not the only one going through that. I've been through it, and this is what how I got through it.
Right.
And like I tell people, ain't no shame in my game because I know that we're all here to help each other. To help each other get through the earthly realm of life. And if we're not willing to do that, or we're too self-centered or too selfish, too narcissistic or whatever, fearful or whatever, to do what it is that needs to be done with respect to why you're here, your purpose for being, you're never going to be sustainably joyful. Because your joy well will be teetering on empty all the time. So if your joy well is teetering on empty, the happiness you're able to illuminate into the world will be little to none.
And again, going back to children, because again, we're in a season where, there's a lot of focus on the children, right?
Right.
Joy to the world,
Joy to the
and
world.
children, again, they do kind of take in and sense what you're feeling as a parent. You may be showing on the outside that you're happy-go-lucky because that's what you want for your children. However, what some don't realize is that they see that outer part, but they also see what's inside. They understand, they feel it,
Absolutely.
they sense it.
Absolutely.
And we have to be very cognizant of what we teach our children, what we show our children. And it's okay to be depressed or upset about something or angry about something.
Momentarily.
Moments that put us in those particular situations. However, we have to also be cognizant that children, they need to understand how they can be joyous, also have sustained joy in their lives.
Absolutely.
And it's not going to be based on these tangible items like Christmas time where,
and
we're
the
getting
gifts and
or, that's a temporary element of that joy. I'm happy. To me, that's happy at that moment.
Mhm.
But sustained joy, sustained happiness, sustained, the confidence in yourself, and to your point, being okay with myself. Like, I'm able to kind of just sit down and just be happy with who I am and what I offer to this world. That's what children need to know and understand.
And when you're walking around your home, throwing negative energy all over the place, you're negatively affecting your children. You're affecting their ability to be happy, to experience joy.
Know what happy is.
And know what happy is. Exactly. Why? Because if you are a parent walking around and you're negative and you're a sad sack and all you do is go from one pity party to the next, then your children are going to follow in your footsteps because they're going to see how you're handling situations and they're going to respond in the same way because they're not going to have the skill set to block negative energy that attempts to come into their lives. And so joy will always be a struggle for them.
And I want to be clear, it's not about judging anyone who's dealing with these elements, right?
Not.
It's not about judging. It's about getting the help you need so that your children can also flourish in life.
Absolutely.
And take that as an example that if you are going through something, I'm going to go get help.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm going to help myself. I know that it's okay.
Absolutely.
And nobody should judge you for trying to heal or trying to deal with the traumas that you've gone through in life, and be open and honest with your children because, again, they do see it. They don't want you to necessarily hide it from them. They want to make sure that you're okay.
Absolutely. I have a little issue with that word judge.
Yeah, I got you.
Because we have to be a good judge of character at all times and know who we're dealing with. The key is not to condemn people for where they are, what they're going through. If they will allow us to help them, then we help. If they won't allow us to help them and they become an impediment to our joy, then you got to take a responsible action to that kind of behavior. Exactly.
No, agree. So we're coming to the end of 'Tis the Season. This is our holiday special, Sistership Network. Joy comes from within. And I know there's a lot of things we've kind of thrown out there. And I think as we kind of wrap up just the conversation and kind of get to a place of, okay, what is it that I can do to make sure that I am actually creating a level of sustained joy for myself? I'm going to go around the room here and I'm going to start with Onika. What did you kind of gather from today's discussion in regards to that?
Cut him off. No, I'm just.
There's a not so nice. There's a not so nice.
But you know what? You
no,
really
she knows.
cut them off in order
to a certain degree.
To maintain your own joy.
Let's be clear on what we mean about that. But go ahead. No, go ahead.
Just be happy. Do what makes you happy. If you have me now, I listen to music, a lot of music. I do a lot of meditation music. If I'm feeling up on some soca and some reggae and start dancing, the music makes me happy. I got my dogs. If I'm feeling sad, they know I'm feeling sad. They come. They
Oh, they're
want.
so clear.
They want hugs. They want kiss. They wouldn't leave me alone. So
Mm-hmm.
I just do.
They're your
do what-
therapy.
Yeah, they are my.
They're
I
therapy.
talk to them, and the little one, she be like she understand. Yeah, come.
Dogs are your they have therapy animals.
Yeah,
I mean,
they
there's so
do.
many.
They
It's
do.
okay.
They do, you know?
So my thing to everyone, just do what make you happy.
Absolutely.
And not just like happy coming from within. Not I'm gonna buy me a steak and I'm super happy.
I
'cause
love
want a
steak, though.
Yeah,
That's
that's a momentary.
That's like
happiness.
momentary
Yeah, that's,
happiness.
yeah, that's
I'm
okay
thinking
too.
about it. Like yes,
Yeah, momentary happiness is good.
Can I
You
get a
know-
ribeye? Just saying, step by in the Sistership Network. Any business out there willing to give me the ribeye?
You'll take it.
I'll take it. Give me a call.
See, I'm a seafood eater myself. You know, and I fallen in love with a fish called bronzino.
Oh, Brazino's
Oh
really
my
good.
God, I love it.
Now we got
But
into the
one
whole-
fish is like $17, and sometimes I'm like, okay, I'm counting my dimes and nickels. I'm like, okay, do I have enough to get me a bronzino? And when I can, I do. When I can, I'm still happy. I'm not unhappy because
That's
I
right.
can't get one.
That's a temporary joy. That's a temporary joy.
You gotta
Just like-
recognize.
You gotta
Yeah.
recognize
You
it.
gotta
Hello, hello. I'd like to read several little things real quick on how to find authentic joy.
Mhm,
Stop behavior that is dangerous to your health.
mhm.
Work on correcting problem situations from your past. Don't let your past stalk you. The past, the demons from your past stalk you. Think about happy things, like Onika was saying. Think about, you know what? I think about all the time. I think about the joy of being a grandmother, the joy of being a mother. I mean, you know, yeah, those have moments, you know,
Mhm.
but you know, I love being a mother. I love being a grandmother. I love being able to help my family in whatever way I can. So, you know, whatever makes me happy. I've gotten into binge watching shows on
Netflix, and that's
Netflix
okay.
and Tubi and all of that, you know, just to kind of ease my mind. So I'm not, because I'm a heavy thinker.
Yeah.
And sometimes I just need to bring it down.
Yeah.
I binge watch when I need to do that. Understand the difference between fake happiness and authentic happiness.
Mhm,
It's easy to fake being happy, but that's not real happiness.
mhm.
Even generally happy people will sometimes experience feelings of unhappiness or disappointment. It's okay to acknowledge when things are not going well in your life. If things are going bad and you are pretending to be happy when inside you are not doing yourself or anyone else a favor. Okay, you're doing a disservice. Accept yourself for who you are.
Mhm.
Don't let your self-identity come from somewhere
Somebody
else or outside of yourself.
Mhm.
Don't think that you're a failure because you don't have what somebody else has,
Right,
or you've
that's
not
true.
been able to do or achieve the level of success that you think other people have had. You know what? You don't know what the real deal is with those
That is so
people.
true.
Okay, so a lot of times people are faking. Seek help. Seek help from
Yeah.
a professional so that you can get whatever. With me, it turned out that there was a chemical imbalance that had been created from my years of stress.
Mhm.
Once that chemical imbalance was corrected, oh my God, I've been soaring ever since. I haven't had any serious problems with depression. I have my moments, but basically, I'm happy. Because the joy I do whatever I need to do to keep my joy full, so it'll keep illuminating the happiness through me.
And keep illuminating that happiness. That's the other thing.
Yep.
Social media is used for so many reasons and things that are going on.
Right.
If you're happy, it's okay to share it. If you're not feeling right about certain things, it's okay to share it. Stop worrying about other people, what other people are saying or what are other people doing. Again, I always say your circle is always going to be there to support you if they truly are your circle of people.
And if you let them, because
And if
they
you
can
let
be
them.
your circle of people, but if you won't allow them,
Allow them in and
That is
to
so
help
true.
then there's nothing they can do to help you.
And some people just don't want it. Some people
And
just
some
want
people
it.
just don't want it.
Don't want it. And that's fine at some point. Again, self-inventory, making sure you're inventorying, you know, who you are and what you need in your life and what
Absolutely.
makes you happy, et cetera, and so on. Again, if you need the help, please make sure you're getting the help. anyone who is contemplating, again, I'll say this again because it's so important that we say this regularly. Suicide hotline 988. Please make sure you utilize that. All it takes is a temporary thought to change your life.
Absolutely.
Please
That is
make
so
sure you utilize that if
Absolutely.
you're feeling or contemplating anything of that nature.
Absolutely.
With that said, 'tis the season. And I want to wish everybody, this is your girl Steph happy holidays
Happy
from the
holiday,
sistership.
everyone.
Happy holidays, y'all.
Our lovely sistership audience, to our brothership, to Gynesis Radio, and from all of us at the Sistership Network, Lady K, Lady Wisdom, Spicy, Mama C, myself, obviously our girl Tiffany, Kofer, Miss Bling, Lady Bling as we call her, Onika. Thank you for joining us today.
Mhm.
We want you to have a wonderful season, whatever your persuasion is, whatever your religion is, whatever you celebrate. We love y'all. We want to wish you a happy season and a happy new year. This is your sistership. This is your girl, Stephia. Have a great Sunday. See you every Sunday, 2 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, right here on the Gynesis
So now,
Radio.
this is our last show for the
And
season.
this is our last show for the season. So we'll be seeing you guys in the new
in the
season.
new year.
In the
Exactly.
new year, 2023. But again, we want to wish you all a joyous and happy season.
Bye,
Love y'all.
Bye,
everyone.
everyone. Don't and remember, be happy.
Be happy.
Don't worry. Be happy. We're on a sister ship. Roll with us. We're on a sister ship.
Sistership.
We got this one. Come on, let's talk about it.